Harris to Cunningham. We're tied. The Fever have climbed all the way back.
Quick, watch this, guys. Now, this is when Canada tripped herself, and Caitlin Clark was literally bagging back, giving her room to go because she was already at what? 4 fouls or something like that. 4 fouls. Now what?
Imagine being the most marketable player in your entire league. You're the reason arenas sell out, the reason TV ratings break records, the reason Nike just handed you a history-making shoe deal. Now imagine you're on the court, watching your team's lead disappear because a referee just called a phantom foul that everyone with eyes can see didn't happen. You look at the replay. You know it's wrong. You walk over to your head coach and beg her to challenge the call. And she won't even look at you. That's not some made-up scenario. That happened. It happened to Caitlin Clark during Indiana's loss to the Atlanta Dream, a game that snapped a 4-game winning streak and left Fever fans furious for reasons that go way beyond the final score. Stephanie White often holds on to challenges when it comes to Clark, specifically not using her coaches' challenges on foul calls against the star point guard. And when you start digging into the footage, into the pattern, into what's been happening behind the scenes in Indiana all season long, you realize that 30-second clip of Caitlin begging for help and getting ignored wasn't a one-time thing. It was just the moment the cameras happened to catch it. What's actually going on inside that organization is something nobody's ready to talk about yet. But we're about to. And by the end of this, you're going to look at the Indiana Fever very differently.
Worse, Stephanie White wasted a challenge on Sophie Cunningham. To me, her not using any challenges for Caitlin Clark completely is the reason why they lost this game. Caitlin Clark did not play majority of the fourth quarter. She came in, it was 3 minutes and 28 seconds left. She got in foul trouble early. I think she had 3 fouls going into the third quarter. So that there was a telltale sign that, maybe I need to keep a challenge because they clearly haven't.
Let's break down exactly what happened in that Atlanta game because the details matter. Caitlin picked up her 3rd foul going into the 3rd quarter. Already a problem. But it's what happened next that crossed the line from bad luck into something else entirely. With 52 seconds left in the first half, Aaliyah Gray is running down the court and trips over her own feet. No contact. Caitlin is nowhere near her, running back on defense, minding her own business. The whistle blows anyway. 4th foul. Just like that, Indiana's best player is now 1 call away from being done for the night. Now here's where it gets infuriating. Caitlin knew immediately it was a bad call. She saw Gray go down without anyone touching her, so she goes straight to Stephanie White and asks for the challenge. Watch the clip again and pay close attention to White's body language. She's not even considering it. The conversation is already over before it begins. But here's the part that should make every single Fever fan lose their mind. Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White could stand to use some of her challenges on calls made against Caitlin Clark. She didn't have a challenge left. She'd already burned it earlier on a Sophie Cunningham play, a review so obvious and inconsequential that even the broadcast team questioned why she used it. The announcers themselves couldn't stay quiet. They started calling out the head coach during the game, live on air. Think about that for a second. When was the last time you heard professional broadcasters openly question a coaching decision in real time? That doesn't happen unless it's so egregious they physically cannot ignore it. And what was the result? Caitlin sat for most of the 4th quarter. She didn't come back until 3 minutes and 28 seconds remained. Indiana's franchise player, their meal ticket, their entire brand, watching from the bench while a winnable game slipped away. But this wasn't even the worst part, because what happened in this game has been happening all season long, and someone finally put it in writing.
So that kind of answers the question earlier about that challenge that you asked, because
I just wasn't a fan of it at that time for a play that to us at the time. I mean, think about how long that review went.
Yeah,
you know, it wasn't cut and dry, and now you've got one of your best players sitting on the bench with 5 personals.
Even the announcers had to call out.
Here's where things shift from frustrating to genuinely alarming. Robin Lundberg explains why he'd like to see Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White use challenges in defense of Caitlin Clark. This wasn't some random fan ranting on social media. This was a major sports publication, putting a WNBA coach on blast by name for refusing to protect her own star player. Coaching the Indiana Fever comes with challenges. When Caitlin Clark is on the roster, everything receives more scrutiny. But Fever coach Stephanie White often holds on to challenges when it comes to Clark, specifically not using her coach's challenges on foul calls against the star point guard. Let that sink in. A documented, recurring pattern across multiple games this season. Not once, not twice, over and over again. Now think about this strategically. Every team in the WNBA knows Caitlin gets hit with questionable calls. The refs have shown all season that they'll whistle her for minimal contact while letting opponents hack her on drives. It's been the most consistent storyline since her rookie year. So if you're coaching the Fever, you know going into every single game that you'll probably need to challenge at least one bogus foul call against your point guard. You save your challenge for exactly that situation. You don't blow it in the first quarter on a random play involving a role player. You protect your franchise cornerstone. That's coaching at its most basic level. Another point White could be challenged on was having second-year player Makla Timpson in late in the contest. Timpson was overwhelmed by Angel Reese on several possessions and looked lost on offense. So it's not just the challenge management. It's the rotations, the substitution patterns, the decision-making across the board. And when reporters are openly documenting these failures, when the broadcast announcers are calling them out live, when the footage is going viral, you have to start asking the uncomfortable question. Is this incompetence, or is it something else entirely? Because what happened next suggests the answer might be darker than anyone wants to admit.
Now, starting during her last years in Iowa, Caitlin Clark seemed destined to follow a similar journey to icon status. Her start to her WNBA career has already been record-setting. The only thing she was lacking, though, was that long-awaited signature shoe. Well, guess what? It dropped today. Check out Nike's Caitlin 1. And you see those stacked swooshes over there? You see how they're look like C's? Well, Nike says they were designed to mimic her initials, which you see up on the tongue. And then even the nose on the outside also look like C's. Now, Clark becomes the 5th active WNBA player with her own.
The Caitlin Clark-Stephanie White exchange continues to make headlines. The superstar guard and the Indiana Fever head coach went viral for their heated argument during the team's 184 loss to the Portland Fire on Saturday. A 16-point blowout to an expansion team. Not a playoff contender, an expansion team. With 6:30 left in the opening frame, White subbed out Caitlin Clark, Lexi Hull, and Aaliyah Boston. Indiana was leading at the time and proceeded to unravel. By the time the quarter ended, Portland led 29-15. They were winning. White pulled the starters. The lead evaporated in minutes. Then came the exchange that lit social media on fire. Fans have also jumped on an animated exchange between White and Clark later in the game. The two appeared to have a difference of opinion, and the coach eventually called Raven Johnson over to take Clark's place. Afterwards, both tried to downplay it. White said, "What happened in that moment is, I was challenging a player. It's coaching is what it is. I don't often think it becomes an issue if you're watching it in men's sports most of the time." Sounds reasonable on paper. Coaches and players argue, it happens. But here's why people weren't buying it. Analyst Jason Whitlock is lambasting White while sharing his 2 cents on the fiery interaction between Clark and her coach. In an X post, Whitlock claimed that White and Fever defensive assistant, Brian January, sabotaged Clark with an early substitution against Portland. Now, sabotaged is a strong word, and Whitlock isn't exactly known for measured takes. But when a national analyst is publicly telling your franchise player to demand a trade, something has clearly gone sideways. Fever fans flood social media with conspiracy theories accusing coach Stephanie White of undermining Caitlin Clark after Indiana's loss to Portland. The gap between what's being said publicly and what everyone can see on the sideline is getting wider by the game. And that gap is exactly where the real story lives. Because there's a financial element to all of this that changes everything.
Will not be able to buy them until October. Michael Jordan.
So that was ESPN letting us know that Caitlin Clark is one of them ones. Now, this is a controversial person right here. A lot of people don't like him. Even me, I don't really care for him, but he do make good articles for Sports Illustrated. That is Robin Lundberg. So Robin Lundberg is getting off the bandwagon, and he wrote an article today. He says, coaching Caitlin Clark's come with challenges. Stephanie White can't hold to them. Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White could stand to use some of her challenges on calls made against who? Caitlin Clark. He goes on to say, coaching the Indiana.
Here's where the pieces start clicking together. The Indiana Fever exercised Caitlin Clark's fourth-year option. By picking up Clark's option, the Fever have ensured that the 24-year-old is under contract through 2027. On the surface, a no-brainer move, but underneath it sits something way more complicated. As someone whose performance falls within the new collective bargaining agreement's exceptional performance on initial contract, or EPIC, provision, Clark now has the ability to negotiate a higher salary for next season. She is eligible to renegotiate her fourth-year salary into a much higher figure or sign a multi-year extension as early as this year. Also, she could be eligible for a max contract extension worth up to $1.3 million per year. Sounds great, right? Except think about what that means in context. If extension talks have already started, or worse, if they've already hit a wall, then suddenly every coaching decision, every wasted challenge, every questionable substitution takes on a completely different meaning. Clark has been clear about wanting to play her entire career in Indiana. That's what she said publicly. But actions speak louder than press conferences. And the actions from the coaching staff and front office this season don't exactly scream, "We're building around you forever." Now consider the money situation. As a rookie in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark made $76,535. Meanwhile, her record-setting $28 million endorsement contract signed with Nike in 2024 dwarfs anything the Fever could ever pay her in salary. She doesn't need Indiana financially. Indiana needs her. She fills arenas. She drives TV ratings. Clark's Fever jersey is the league's top seller this season despite the superstar being sidelined much of the year with various injuries. Even when she wasn't playing, she was still the league's biggest draw. So the question becomes, if you're the Fever front office, and you know this player is worth more to your organization than anyone else in the building, why would you let your coach consistently mismanage her? Unless there's a reason. Unless there's something happening behind closed doors that hasn't leaked yet. And that brings us to something that just dropped this week that changes the entire conversation. Nike officially unveiled the Indiana Fever Guard's long-awaited Caitlin one this week. Clark becomes the fifth active WNBA player to currently have her own signature shoe with a major brand, joining Angel Reese with Reebok, Breena Stewart with Puma, Sabrina Ionescu with Nike, and Aja Wilson with Nike. And this isn't just some slapped-together collab. According to Nike, Clark asked the brand for help in three key components for the Nike Caitlin 1 shoe: speed, range, and unpredictability. As Clark promised on the New Heights podcast, her first shoe debuts new performance technology. The Nike Caitlin 1 introduces a Nike Opticast upper, an innovative construction of cast PU nodes with varied Z heights designed to reduce drag and enhance on-court movement efficiency. This isn't just a basketball shoe. This is Nike investing brand new, never-before-seen technology into a WNBA player's signature line. That's how much they believe in her. The announcement followed days of social media hints, as Clark changed her Instagram handle to @Caitlin1, swapped her profile photo for a blue Nike logo, and posted photos teasing the highly anticipated footwear. The marketing rollout was massive. Pre-orders sold out within 24 hours. The Nike Caitlin ones are scheduled to launch Oct. 1 through the Nike SNKRS app and select retailers. The shoes will be priced at $140 in North America, while international customers should expect to pay the equivalent of $135. Now here's why this matters beyond sneakers. Nike didn't invest $28 million in a player they think will be stuck in a dysfunctional situation forever. They invested in a global brand. A face of women's basketball. And right now, that global brand is sitting on the bench in foul trouble because her coach won't use a challenge. Clark told ESPN, "This is like your debut album, you want it to be killer." She's thinking bigger than Indiana. She's thinking legacy. And while she's building an empire off the court, the situation on the court is becoming harder and harder to ignore, especially when you look at her relationship with the referees. Indiana Fever star guard Caitlin Clark picked up her fourth technical foul of the 2026 WNBA season during her team's 85-75 win against the Connecticut Sun on June 14. This means Clark is tied with Atlanta Dream star Angel Reese for the league lead in technical fouls. 4 techs. We're barely into the season. As a result of the league's new CBA, a 1-game suspension occurs when a player reaches 8 technical fouls on the season. After that, every other technical foul a player receives will trigger another suspension. She's already halfway there. Think about that trajectory. Clark was called for her first WNBA technical just 4 games into her rookie season and finished the year with 6. Last season, Clark only played 17 games and was called for 2 technical fouls, and now 4 already in 2026. The pattern is escalating, not improving. Clark had a lofty goal for the 2025 WNBA season, to have a maximum of 2 technical fouls. She told Stephanie White, 2 max. That goal lasted about 5 minutes into her career's restart. During the WNBA postseason in September, while Clark was injured, she said she was fined $200 for tweeting, "Refs couldn't stop us," after Indiana's Game 2 win over Atlanta in the first round. $200 for a tweet. That tells you everything about her relationship with the league's officiating system. And here's the part that ties it all together. Every opponent in this league knows Caitlin gets phantom fouls. They know she reacts to bad calls. They know the refs are quick to whistle her and quick to tee her up. It's a known exploit at this point, which means the coaching staff's job is to insulate her from that, to save challenges for exactly those moments, to manage her minutes around foul trouble, to have her back when the refs clearly don't. White herself said of Clark, "I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. The disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable." So even White admits the officiating is unfair. She says it publicly, but then she won't use a challenge to actually do something about it. That contradiction is the entire story right there. So we're left with 2 possible explanations, and neither one is good for Indiana. Option 1, Stephanie White is simply in over her head. Her challenge usage has been questionable all season. Her rotations don't always make sense. She pulled her starters against Portland while they were winning and watched a 14-point swing happen in minutes. Another point White could be challenged on was having second-year player Makla Timpson in late in the contest. Timpson was overwhelmed by Angel Reese on several possessions and looked lost on offense. White said the decision to have Timpson in was due to her length and how she battled on the boards. There's also a roster construction issue to point out, as the Fever front office has still not found a suitable starter at power forward to play next to Boston. So maybe it's structural. Maybe the roster isn't built well enough to overcome coaching mistakes. When factoring in her 2-year spell with the Connecticut Sun, White's teams have reached the semifinals for 3 straight seasons. She was the coach when Indiana made its last finals appearance in 2015. White is clearly a good coach, but good coaches adapt. Good coaches protect their best players. Good coaches don't burn challenges on inconsequential plays while their franchise cornerstone racks up phantom fouls. That's not advanced strategy. That's common sense. Which brings us to option 2, the darker explanation. What if the organization has already accepted that Caitlin's future isn't in Indiana? What if they've read the tea leaves, the Nike empire she's building, the global brand she's becoming, the fact that she doesn't need their salary, and they've decided they're not going to bend over backwards for someone who might leave? The Fever played well enough without Clark during the 2025 season, even coming within 1 game of a WNBA Finals appearance while she was sidelined. Maybe that gave them a dangerous amount of confidence. Maybe they looked at that playoff run without her and thought, we can do this without Caitlin Clark. And if that's the calculation they've made, then every wasted challenge, every bad substitution, every time she's left on the bench in foul trouble suddenly becomes less about bad coaching and more about sending a message. You're not bigger than this organization. You're not irreplaceable. And we're not going to treat you like you are. Here's what it all comes down to. This isn't about one bad challenge. It isn't about one phantom foul. It's not even about one frustrating loss. This is about trust. And right now, the trust between Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever organization looks cracked in ways that might not be fixable. She's publicly said all the right things. Clark has been clear about wanting to play her entire career in Indiana. She's praised her coach. She's stayed professional. But the footage tells a different story. The sideline arguments tell a different story. The wasted challenges and questionable rotations tell a different story. Meanwhile, she's building a brand that transcends the Fever. Pre-orders for her signature shoe sold out in under 24 hours. Nike invested $28 million and brand new technology because they believe she's the future of women's basketball. Not the future of Indiana basketball. The future of the entire sport. So here's the question nobody in the Fever organization wants to answer. Are you protecting your franchise player, or are you preparing for life without her? Because right now, from the outside looking in, it looks a lot more like the second one. If you're a Fever fan, how much longer can you watch this before you demand changes? And if you're Caitlin Clark, how many more phantom fouls do you sit through before you decide that Indiana's loyalty runs out the moment you stop being convenient? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this one hit different, smash that subscribe button, because this story is far from over.
Stay locked with my channel, Simply Explained, for further WNBA updates.